America's Cup rematch gets a shot of youth. No major international sports event has a longer history than the America's Cup, which began in 1851. Through all those years of tacks and jibes and sea changes, no helmsman younger than Jimmy Spithill has won the trophy. His record is in danger, however, because Spithill, long the brash leader of the new generation, now represents the old guard in the Cup match that wind willing was set to begin in Bermuda's Great Sound on Saturday. It will be a piquant rematch between the defender, Oracle Team USA, and the challenger, Emirates Team New Zealand, who produced one of the more memorable Cup tussles last time around and whose rivalry remains genuinely fierce. But it will also be a new-look duel between Spithill, the 37-year-old Oracle skipper, and Peter Burling, the 26-year-old helmsman for Team New Zealand. The skill level of these two is extraordinary, Ken Reid, a former America's Cup helmsman, said on Friday in Bermuda. I don't think pressure will be a factor. Both know how to deal with it, even at Burling's young age. That Spithill is an Australian and Burling a Kiwi gives the competition more edge. Australians and New Zealanders, separated only by the Tasman Sea, relish the chance to get the better of each other in a sporting context. Spithill has had bragging rights for the last 4 years after leading Oracle to one of the most dramatic comebacks in any sport. Trailing by 1-8 in 2013, Oracle was just one defeat away from losing the Cup, but with the fiery Spithill refusing to acknowledge what appeared obvious to everyone else in San Francisco, Oracle won 8 straight races to retain the trophy. The consequences have been far-reaching. Instead of Team New Zealand returning in triumph to Auckland and staging the 35th edition of the Cup in the familiar waters of the Oraki Gulf, it was forced into a collective soul search, a major budget reduction and a near-total shake-up of its core sailing team, with the emphasis on youth. The fact that we are even here is really testimony to resilience as much as anything else, said Grant Dalton, Team New Zealand's chief executive. Exit the popular longtime helmsman Dean Barker, who had spent most of his career steering slower monohull yachts. Enter Burling and his Olympic teammate Blair Tuke, who grew up racing extreme, high-performance yachts and who won the Olympic gold medal in 2016 in the 490R men's class. Burling and Tuke were also in San Francisco for the last Cup as part of New Zealand's Red Bull Youth America's Cup team. But they left after the first 2 races of the match and followed the rest of the regatta and New Zealand's demoralizing defeat from France, where they were taking part in the 490R World Championships. We'd watch the coverage at night on television, and you almost went to bed more stressed than you were when you were out racing yourself, Burling said in a recent interview. It was a bit of a shame we couldn't finish it off, but by the end it definitely felt like it was Oracle's to lose in those last couple races with how much quicker they were going. I don't think any Cup is won by a slower boat, so that's why all of us have been working super hard this time to try and create a boat that is fast enough to be competitive. That's all we ask as a sailing team, to have a boat that is fast enough that we can go racing and take on the challenge. As a sailing team, we really back our skills, if we do have an even boat, to go and win it. It remains unclear whether one boat will have a decisive speed edge this time. Oracle won both head-to-head races with Team New Zealand in the qualifiers in Bermuda. Finishing first in the qualifiers gave Oracle a 1-point advantage heading into the America's Cup match. But Cup syndicates, with their large and skilled shore teams, have proven adept at improving their yachts over the course of a 12-day regatta. As Oracle proved in San Francisco, today's deficit is not necessarily tomorrow's. I think you have 2 of the best teams in the world going head-to-head in a really heavyweight battle, Spithill said Friday. After this weekend, I think we'll have somewhat of a red, but I'm expecting it's going to be one hell of a fight. Team New Zealand will start at -1, Oracle at 0. The winner will be the first to reach 7 points. In the last Cup, Oracle started at -2 after being sanctioned by an arbitration panel. 2 races are scheduled for Saturday, and 2 more for Sunday. It didn't seem to matter too much who went into the last Cup a couple points down, Burling said. So I don't imagine it will matter too much this time. The weather could play a role depending on which team turns out to have made the right call on setting up its boat for the prevailing conditions. But Oracle still seems the rightful favorite. It was the first team to set up a base in Bermuda, the remote island group it surprisingly chose as the site for this regatta, largely because of financial incentives. Although Oracle's owner, the American billionaire Larry Ellison, is no longer as willing to invest vast sums to try to make the Cup a mainstream sporting event, he has been willing to fully finance his team and remains a strong backer, in particular of Spithill, who has faced some resistance from others inside the syndicate. Spithill has been a helmsman in the Cup since age 20, when Sid Fisher, a demanding Australian yachtsman, hired him to lead his young Australia team. In 2010, Spithill became, at age 30 with Oracle, the youngest helmsman to win the Cup after making the transition from steering monohulls to steering multi-hulls. He has now had to make another transition to foiling catamarans, which are frequently sailed with both hulls out of the water and can reach speeds approaching 50 knots. Burling has been foiling since he was a teenager. He could have the advantage in reflexes, while Spithill, with his deep experience and gladiatorial instincts, may have the edge in pre-start maneuvering. Off the water, the two men are a contrast in personalities. The red-haired Spithill is an extrovert who embraces news conference banter and likes to train by boxing. Burling is a more understated figure with the cameras rolling, much more earnest than playful. But he has grown noticeably more confident in his new public role during this regatta. "Good to get a question," Burling said at Friday's news conference after a reporter directed one his way after Spithill had fielded several in a row. Burling smiled at Spithill before he answered. Spithill smiled back. But this Cup rematch, for anyone who knows the history, is no light-hearted matter.